If you touch my plane with those greasy hands, I'll have you banned from the hangar. She said it loud enough for everyone to hear. What she didn't know was this. The single dad she just humiliated was the only man alive who could save her life 30 minutes later. Ryan Khan had spent his whole life fixing things, cars, buses, broken machines, and, lately, the private jets of people who never looked at him long enough to learn his name. He worked 2 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, and always woke up before sunrise to pack lunch for his 9-year-old daughter, Ara. She was the reason he kept going, the reason he worked through back pain and exhaustion, the reason he could endure all the disrespect that came with being just a mechanic. That morning, a call came from the private hangar, urgent inspection needed. A CEO's jet had shown an abnormal vibration during a test run. Ryan rushed to the hangar, still smelling faintly of engine oil from his night shift. The moment he stepped inside, he saw her, Mira Ellison, tech billionaire, ice cold, famous for firing people mid-sentence. She stood next to her executives, looking impatient, polished, and impossible to impress. Ryan approached the jet with his tools, but before he could speak, Myra's voice sliced through the air. "You're the mechanic they sent." "Yes, ma'am." She raised her eyebrows. "This is a multi-million-dollar aircraft. I won't risk my life on someone who looks like he just crawled out of a junkyard." Her executives laughed. Ryan didn't. He simply tightened his jaw and said quietly, "Ma'am, you requested the fastest mechanic." "That's me." "Just don't touch anything you're not supposed to," she snapped. "Your hands look like they can stain metal." He felt the sting but swallowed it. He had Ara's school fee due next week. He needed this job. Ryan climbed into the jet, inspecting every wire, every bolt, every panel. His hands moved with a rare calmness, because once, long ago, he wasn't just a mechanic. Before life forced him into survival mode, he had trained as an aeronautical engineer, even winning a national prize for designing a flight-stabilizing microsystem. But after his wife died and his savings vanished into hospital bills, he had quit university to raise Ara. No one here knew that. To them, he was the greasy-handed mechanic. As he worked, he discovered something alarming, an undetected microfracture in the left stabilizer rod. If the jet took off, it could spiral out of control mid-air. He approached Mira. "Ma'am, you need to cancel your flight. The jet is unsafe." She rolled her eyes. "Are you done? I have a conference to attend." "Ma'am, I'm serious. There's a fracture." "Don't lecture me," she said sharply. "You're not an engineer. You're a mechanic." Ryan's fists clenched. But he tried again. "If this jet takes off, it won't make it to landing." Mira stepped closer, her voice low and mocking. "You think you know more than the engineers who built it?" "No," Ryan replied, steady. "But I know enough to keep you alive." She turned away. "Fix whatever you think is broken and get out of my sight." Ryan repaired the fracture, but the system needed an additional recalibration. Without it, the stabilizer might still fail under turbulence. He begged her not to fly until the recalibration was complete. She ignored him and boarded the jet with 2 executives. Ryan stood at the edge of the runway, helpless, praying that the jet didn't shake itself apart in the sky. 10 minutes into flight, as the jet hit strong air currents, Myra's world was about to turn upside down. "Get me the mechanic." Mira screamed through the radio, her voice cracking as alarms blared around her. And in that moment, everyone finally understood why the man they mocked was the only one who could save them. Myra's jet jolted violently, sending coffee pouring across the cabin table and her executives gripping their seats in terror. Warning lights flashed red across the cockpit. The pilot's voice came out strained, trembling. "Ma'am, the left stabilizer isn't responding." Mira froze. "What do you mean not responding?" "That mechanic fixed it." "No," the pilot rasped. "He warned you it wasn't ready." The jet slammed downward, dropping hundreds of feet in seconds. Mira stumbled, hitting her shoulder against the cabin wall. Fear punched the air out of her lungs. In that moment, for the first time in her controlled and polished life, she felt completely powerless. "Call the hangar," she shouted. "Now." The trembling co-pilot radioed the ground. Ryan heard the panic in their voices. "This is Flight E-99, stabilizer malfunction, need immediate assistance, do you copy?" Ryan grabbed the radio. "I copy. Pass me cockpit control." Myra's frightened voice burst through. "You. Mechanic. Fix this now." Ryan didn't waste time. "Listen carefully. Switch to auxiliary manual control. Override code 2773B. The pilot hesitated. "That's an engineer-level protocol." "How do you know this?" "Just do it." Ryan barked. They obeyed. The jet steadied, slightly, but it was still unstable, trembling like a leaf in a storm. Myra's breathing was fast, uneven. "We're still falling." "You won't," Ryan said, his tone suddenly serene, almost comforting. "But you must trust me. Every second counts." His voice, calm under pressure, surprised Mira. Why do you know all this?" she whispered. "Because before life hit me, I trained to build the very systems you're flying on," he replied. "Now do exactly as I say." Step by step, Ryan walked the pilots through a complex emergency recalibration sequence, something even seasoned engineers struggled to do. His fingers moved in the air unconsciously, mimicking switches, remembering old diagrams, long-forgotten textbooks, and simulations he once mastered but never completed. Inside the cockpit, the pilots followed each instruction with trembling hands. Stabilizer responding at 30%. 40%. 60%. Mira bit down on her lip so hard it hurt. She stared at the controls, the screens, the shaking jet, and realized something she never thought she'd admit. She owed her life to the man she'd mocked for having dirty hands. Finally, after the longest 8 minutes of her life, the pilot announced, voice breaking, "Stabilizer normalized. We can land." Mira collapsed into her seat, tears welling in her eyes as the jet descended safely toward the runway. When the plane touched ground, she didn't wait for the stairs. She actually ran, toward Ryan, who stood beside the hangar with grease still on his hands and exhaustion in his eyes. She stopped in front of him, breathless. "You saved my life," she whispered. "I just did my job, ma'am." "No," she said shakily. "You did more than my entire engineering team could do." For the first time, her voice wasn't cold. It wasn't arrogant. It was human, small, humbled, grateful. "I misjudged you," she admitted. "I'm sorry." Ryan nodded once. "Thank you." She glanced at his old toolbox, the worn-out handle, the patched-up bag he carried. "Tell me about your skills, your background." Ryan hesitated, then told her everything, his engineering competition award, his dropout, his late wife, the financial collapse, the daughter he was raising alone. When he finished, Myra's eyes were shining. "I mocked you for having greasy hands," she said softly. "But those hands fixed what my billion-dollar engineers couldn't." She took a breath that trembled. "Ryan, how would you feel about leading my new safety engineering division?" He blinked, stunned. "Me? You," she said firmly. "Someone who knows how to keep people alive. Someone who doesn't give up. Someone who deserves more than the world has given him." For the first time in years, Ryan felt something rise in his chest, hope. He shook her hand quietly. "I'd be honored." As Mira walked him inside to draft the contract, she glanced at his hands again, hands she once insulted. Now, she saw them differently. Hands that repaired what was broken. Hands that protected lives. Hands that raised a little girl alone. And she whispered, almost to herself, "The world needs more men like you." Ryan smiled for the first time in a long time. Because finally, someone saw him. Not as a mechanic. Not as a poor single dad. But as the man he truly was.